Class 13 is an anti-oppressive charity which works with schools and teachers and professionals working with children and young people. Class 13 exists to tackle the broader systemic problems that young people are facing in society today. We're very much focused on action, and we're very much focused on creating an environment which all young people can express themselves freely as guaranteed to them by Article 13 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. We offer a training programme for teachers and other professionals working with children and young people to ensure their practice is more inclusive, and this is based around 3 points: anti-deficit thinking, democratic education, and equity literacy, which with explicit mention of racism.
In my training course, Teach First, we had one seminar on deficit thinking, and I just thought, wow, this is such an important part of education and my teacher training, but they just touched on it and I wanted to learn more about it. So a friend of mine recommended Class 13, so that's why I took part in it, and I didn't think I was going to learn as much as I did, and it's really opened my mind to a lot, and it's also just made me realise just how much more I need to learn and continue to reflect on all of that.
I decided to take part in the Class 13 training programme because for me, anti-racist and anti-bias teaching is something that's really important, and I think it's widely recognised that there's a lot of work to do in that general area, so it felt like an important time to do it, and it felt like it could be really impactful to my classroom practice as well.
Our delivery is based in praxis, which means that we bring together the teacher's practice and our theory to enable them to take action in their classrooms, so everyone's able to get something from our programme.
It's given me a chance to reflect on my own practice, and it's given me the opportunity to think about some of the language that we use in classrooms and some of the assumptions that we put on our young children based on things that are actually external factors outside of their control.
We've also learned a lot about racism and how to define it and what it is and how we all play a role in it. And I think that part is really important because I previously would have said, I'm not racist. And I think that's a statement that a lot of people feel. And when you probe more into racism, we learned, and I see how I'm a part of it daily and how we all need to work to be anti-racist. And that's a really big takeaway that we want to start to work into our school.
Class 13 differs from other diversity and inclusion or anti-racist training because we base ourselves in deficit thinking. Deficit thinking refers to the idea that students from various at-risk groups fail because of their own internal deficits. This could be gender, this could be socio-economic background, this could be race. It's safe to say that all young people you're working with are impacted by deficit thinking.
My biggest takeaway from the course has been understanding what deficit thinking actually is and being able to identify that within my own setting but within education more widely. I feel much more confident now in articulating what it is but also noticing where it's taking place and its impact on our children.
I'm definitely going to take what I've learnt into my classroom, the language that I might be using that is actually deficit and obstructing my children from gaining their full potential.
The first thing that I've noticed is I've been more mindful of the way I speak about my young people. When I've written end of term reports or for my special needs children, I've really tried to be mindful of how I word things about the children. That's been a really quick takeaway, I think, from it. And I need to think in detail and move on to the next modules to kind of really build on that.
It's made me improve my ways of managing behaviour for the better, definitely.
The training's definitely improved my relationship with young people, or rather it's reminded me what a joy and a privilege it is to work with young people and children, and what a responsibility we hold as educators.
A second thing that really stuck out to me is the idea of a debt that we owe children. So children, because our society is not equal because things aren't the same for everybody, and that's the way the structure of society is. We need to do things within school to try and make up that debt, that deficit that we owe the children, because it's not their fault they're in a certain situation. It's not they're not to blame. And so talking about a gap, talking about an attainment gap, any of that kind of puts the blame on the kids, and it's not them. This comes a lot up, I would say, in pupil premium funding. When we talk about a gap, we talk about labeling, and actually the words we use really matter. And so it's about changing our language and our thinking. Because if you just change language, we'll find another way around it. So it's not just about changing the language, change the way we think and how we approach situations. So how can we make it better for the children now in our school?
Right now there's quite a big push to change the curriculum. And whilst the curriculum does need to change, we need to change our thinking around how we see and how we understand children and young people before we make changes to curriculum.
I would recommend Class 13 to any teachers or professionals that work with young people. I think it's been a really good space for me to reflect on my own practice. It's been good to hear from the Class 13 team, and just talking to other colleagues from across boroughs. It's been a really, really good course. I would highly recommend.
I definitely recommend this course to other practitioners because it really blends theory and practice in ways that are really actionable.
I think the work that Class 13 does is so important because they kind of open the door to those conversations that I feel a lot of people want to have but don't know how to start.
I would absolutely recommend the Class 13 programme to other teachers. It's such a strong programme in terms of the content that it's delivering and the way that it's structured to sort of develop a progression of understanding, and also ending in a way that looks towards hope and towards how we can develop practice and actually affect change within our schools.